The council chamber held representatives from 40 different species. Ambassador G1 Park sat in the human section, her hands folded on the desk. Before her, she had been on the Galactic Council for 3 years now. In that time, she had learned patience, she had learned diplomacy. Today she would learn something else entirely. The main screen flickered to life. Every representative turned to look. A face appeared. Scaled and proud, Supreme Overlord Krathen of the Valoran Empire stared out at them with cold yellow eyes. People of the galaxy, Krathen said, his voice smooth and confident. For 300 years the Valoran Empire has brought order to chaos. We have conquered 47 worlds. We have made the weak strong through our guidance. Now we turn our attention to the human colonies. Guy felt her stomach tighten. Around her, other ambassadors shifted. Uncomfortably, the Valorans were known for their brutality. They crushed resistance without mercy. We offer humanity a simple choice, Krathen continued. Surrender all colony worlds to Valoran. Protection within 48 hours. Accept our rule peacefully or face the consequences of defiance. The transmission ended. Chamber erupted in conversation. The council president, a tall being from the Nexari species, called for order. Ambassador Park, what is Earth's response? Juan stood slowly. Earth does not negotiate with threats. Our colonies are sovereign human territory. We will defend them. Many ambassadors looked worried. Some looked sympathetic. A few looked relieved that it was not their species being threatened. The Theon ambassador, an old friend, leaned toward her. Be careful, Juan. The Valorans do not make empty threats. Neither do humans, she replied quietly. 48 hours passed. Earth sent warships to defend New Harmony, the closest human colony to Valoran space. It was not enough. The Valoran fleet was massive, overwhelming. The human defense fleet fought bravely but was destroyed in 6 hours. Then came the broadcast. Every screen in the galaxy lit up simultaneously. The Valorans had seized control of communication networks across known space. Everyone would watch what happened next. G1 sat in her quarters on the council station, her personal screen showing the same feed as billions of others. She saw New Harmony from orbit. The colony had 9 million people. Farmers, teachers, children, elderly couples who had retired there for the peaceful life. Krathen appeared on screen again. This is the price of defiance, he said simply. The bombardment began. It was not a military strike. It was an execution. Valoran ships fired precisely on cities, towns, and villages. They were not trying to conquer the planet. They were making an example. G1 watched in horror as orbital strikes destroyed population centers one by one. The broadcast showed people running, trying to find shelter. There was nowhere to hide. The massacre lasted 6 hours. The Valorans took their time. They made sure everyone could see. They wanted the galaxy to witness what happened to those who resisted their rule. When it ended, 9 million humans were dead. Krathen appeared on screen one final time. This is mercy, he said, continued. Resistance will bring total annihilation. Other human worlds have 72 hours to surrender. Choose wisely. The transmission ended. Silence filled the council chamber when the representatives gathered in emergency session. An hour later, many looked sick, even species that had no love for humanity seemed shaken by what they had witnessed. This is unprecedented, the council president said, his voice unsteady. The targeting of civilians on this scale we must condemn. Juan's voice cut through the chamber. She stood and every eye turned to her. Her face showed no emotion. Her voice was completely steady. You will condemn. With words, the Valorans just murdered 9 million of my people. Broadcasted for entertainment, and you will respond with condemnation. Ambassador Park, please. Understand, I understand perfectly. Guy gathered her documents. I understand that the Galactic Council is worse than useless. You watched them kill our children for 6 hours and did nothing. Now you will watch what happens next. She walked toward the exit. The Theon ambassador called after her. G1, wait. What will Earth do? She stopped at the door and turned back. Her eyes swept across the chamber, meeting the gaze of species both ancient and young, powerful and weak. When she spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the room. You wanted to see humanity beg for mercy. You wanted to see us collapse in fear. Instead, you will witness something else entirely. She paused, letting the silence stretch. The Valorans made their choice. They showed us who they are. They showed us what they think of human life. Now we will show them what it means to awaken. Something that should have been left sleeping. What does that mean? Someone asked. It means that the Valorian Empire made the worst mistake in their 300-year history. They thought they were demonstrating power. Instead, they have signed their own death warrant. This is not a threat. This is not anger speaking. This is a promise backed by 400 years of human history. She looked directly at the council president. We practiced restraint because we chose to. They have shown us that choice was a mistake. You will not see human ambassadors in this chamber again until there are no more Valorans to threaten us. She left. Within 6 hours, every human ambassador departed. Every alien world, every human diplomat, every human trader, every human civilian traveling in alien space received the same message. Return home immediately. Every human ship in the galaxy turned toward Earth. The galaxy watched in confusion. Was humanity retreating? Were they preparing to surrender? 72 hours after the New Harmony massacre, the Valorian Empire sent their fleets toward Earth's other colonies. They expected frightened populations ready to give up. They expected easy victories. They found empty worlds. Humanity had evacuated every colony in 3 days. Not a single human remained outside the Sol system. The Valorans celebrated. The humans were cowards after all. They had run home to hide. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Mjun Choi stood on the bridge of the UHSF Retribution. Around her, 10,000 warships hung in space, but these were just the visible ones. In Earth shipyards, in hidden construction facilities throughout the Sol system, something else was being prepared. Admiral Choi addressed her commanders on secured channels. Their faces filled dozens of screens before her. Some were calm, some showed anger. All showed determination. 9 million people, she said quietly. They killed 9 million humans and broadcast it for the galaxy to see. She pulled up tactical displays showing Valoran territory. For 200 years, we have followed galactic law. We have limited our military. We have played by their rules. The Valorans have shown us that following rules only protects those who break them. Her eyes were hard as steel. Operation Extinction begins now. We will not stop until the Valoran Empire is nothing but a memory. We will make sure that no species ever again treats human life so carelessly. The galaxy wanted to see what humanity looks like when we stop holding back. Now they will learn. Across the fleet, weapon systems came online. Stealth ships that the Valorans did not know existed powered up their drives. Soldiers who had trained for wars they hoped would never come checked their equipment one final time. Humanity was no longer playing by anyone's rules but their own. Captain Seo-Yun Kim watched the Valoran supply depot through her sensors. The UHSF Revenant hung in space, completely invisible to their scanners. Stealth technology that humanity had developed in secret for decades kept her ship hidden. Valorans had no idea anything was watching them. Target confirmed, her tactical officer said quietly. 17 supply ships, 3 escort cruisers, approximately 2,000 Valoran personnel. Seo-Yun nodded. This was the 12th target. In 3 weeks, the pattern was always the same: hunt in silence, strike without warning, leave no survivors, all ships. Execute attack pattern Delta, she ordered. 6 other stealth ships appeared from nowhere on Valoran sensors. By the time the escorts realized they were under attack, it was already over. Human weapons design specifically to counter Valoran shields tore through their defenses. The supply ships tried to scatter. None made it to jump distance. 15 minutes later, the depot was destroyed. Every ship was wreckage. Every Valoran was dead. Standard message package, Seo-Yun said. Her communications officer activated a beacon among the debris. It would play on repeat, broadcasting the footage from New Harmony. 6 hours of massacre, 9 million dead. Anyone who found this debris field would know why it happened. The Revenant vanished back into darkness. Across Valoran space, 200 ships like hers hunted. They struck supply lines, destroyed communications relays, eliminated military outposts. The attacks followed no pattern the Valorans could predict. Sometimes 3 targets died in one day. Sometimes nothing happened for a week. The uncertainty was its own weapon. Supreme Overlord C.R. Rathan stood in his command center, staring at reports that made no sense. In 6 weeks, he had lost contact with 40% of his outer territories. Ships vanished without sending distress calls. Entire garrisons went silent overnight. How are they doing this? He demanded. We destroyed their defense fleet. We killed millions of them. They should be broken. His chief military advisor, General Thax, looked uncomfortable. My lord, we may have underestimated human capabilities. These attacks show coordination and technology far beyond what we observed before. They are primitives. They barely have jump drive technology. That is what they showed us. Thax said carefully. It appears they were hiding their true strength. Rathan smashed his fist on the console. Then we hit them harder. Send the 3rd and 5th fleets to Earth. We will destroy their home world and end this. My lord, we have lost 12 ships trying to reach Sol's system. They never arrive. We do not know what is destroying them. Send more ships. Cran roared. Send a 100 ships, but numbers were not enough. Human ships moved faster than Valoran sensors could track. They struck from impossible angles. They appeared, killed, and vanished before response forces arrived. Every Valoran commander who encountered them reported the same thing. These were not desperate survivors fighting a losing battle. These were apex predators hunting prey. On the council station, the Galactic Council met in secret session. Ambassador Sujin Lee, who had replaced Juan Park, stood before them. She was younger, but her eyes held the same hard determination. You asked for a meeting, the council president said nervously. The council wishes to mediate peace between humanity and the Valorans. No, Sujin said simply. Ambassador Lee, please be reasonable. The violence must stop. We can negotiate, not. What? Her voice cut like a blade. Valorans murdered 9 million civilians and broadcast it for entertainment. You sat here and watched. You did nothing. Now you want us to stop defending ourselves. The Theon ambassador, who had been Juan and LT, Unk and GTS friend, spoke gently. We understand your anger, Sujin, but this path leads only to more death. The Valorans are offering to discuss terms. They can discuss terms with the Void, Sujin replied. Let me be clear so there is no misunderstanding. Humanity will accept no peace, no ceasefire, no negotiation until the Valoran military is destroyed and their government is eliminated. They wanted to show the galaxy their power. Now they will learn what real power looks like. You are speaking of genocide, someone whispered. We are speaking of justice, Sujin corrected. They had a choice. They chose to murder our children. We will make sure they never threaten another living soul. She pulled up a holographic display showing Valoran territory. Red markers showed where humanity had struck. There were hundreds of them. In 8 weeks, we have eliminated 1/3 of their military infrastructure. We have done this while suffering fewer than 3,000 casualties. The Valorans built their empire on fear and brutality. We are showing them what happens when you mistake human restraint for weakness. The council chamber was silent. Species that had existed for thousands of years looked at this young human woman and felt something they had not expected. Fear not of what humans were, but of what they were becoming. You feared the Valorans, Sujin continued. You let them conquer 47 worlds because you were afraid to stand against them. Now you see what happens when someone does stand against them. They are not invincible. They are not unstoppable. They are bullies who never face someone willing to hit back harder. She closed the display. Humanity tried peace. We followed galactic law. We showed restraint. The Valorans responded by killing 9 million people in 6 hours. You want to know what humanity looks like when we stop showing restraint? Keep watching. She left the chamber. Behind her, ambassadors from dozens of species looked at each other with growing concern. The Valorans were monsters. Yes, but they were predictable monsters. What humanity was becoming was something else entirely. In Valorian High Command, General Thax reviewed the latest reports. They were losing not slowly, but rapidly. The humans were dismantling the Empire piece by piece. Every day brought news of more losses, more ships destroyed, more outposts silenced, more territory going dark. My lord, he said to Cray, we must consider evacuation of the core worlds. If the humans reach them, we are Valorans, Krathen shouted. We do not run from prey species. They are not prey, Thax said quietly. That is what we failed to understand. We thought destroying one colony would terrify them. Instead, we showed them we We're their enemy, we showed them there could be no peace between our species. A young officer rushed in, Supreme Overlord, emergency transmission from Sector 7. The screen showed a Valoran commander, his face pale with fear. Behind him, alarms blared. We are under attack. They came from nowhere. We cannot target them. They are the transmission cut to static. That is the 4th Command Center today, Thax said. My lord, they are not trying to conquer us. They are trying to erase us. End quote. Craven stared at the dead screen. For the first time in his life, he felt something unfamiliar. It took him a moment to recognize the feeling. It was fear in deep space. Captain Kim docked her ship for resupply. She met with other stealth ship commanders in a briefing. Their mission was working. Valoran space was chaos. Their military was scattered and desperate. Next phase begins in 1 week, the briefing officer told them. We have confirmed locations of all major Valoran fleet concentrations. Admiral Choi is bringing the main battle groups. Your job is to make sure none of their ships escape when we hit them. See ya. Yun looked at the tactical display, showing Valoran core systems. 9 million faces flashed through her mind. She thought of New Harmony, the planet where she had visited her sister's family 2 years before the massacre. They were all gone now. No survivors, she said. Quietly, the briefing officer nodded. No survivors, those are the orders. The hunters were closing in. The Valorans had nowhere left to run. Admiral Min Jun Choi stood before the tactical display, showing the entire Valorian Empire. Red markers showed human forces. Blue markers showed Valoran military positions. In the past 3 months, the blue markers had decreased by half. The red markers now surrounded every major Valoran system. Status report, she ordered her tactical officer. Pulled up data streams. All battle groups are in position. Stealth forces have confirmed enemy fleet locations. Sabotage teams have compromised orbital defenses on 8 core worlds. We are ready to begin final operations. Minjun studied the display. Everything humanity had built in secret for 200 years was now deployed. Ships designed in hidden facilities, weapons tested where no one could see, tactics developed by military minds who understood that following galactic limits only worked if everyone followed them. The Valorans had shown that not everyone followed the rules. Begin the assault, she ordered. All battle groups execute Operation Reckoning across Valoran space. Humanity struck simultaneously. It was not the scattered raids of the past months. This was total war. Human battle groups emerged from jump space at every major Valorian military installation at the same moment. The Valorans had never seen coordination like this. Human ships moved like parts of a single organism. When one ship fired, 10 others were already in position to cover it. When Valoran forces tried to concentrate, they found human ships already waiting for them. General Thax watched in horror as his carefully positioned fleets were torn apart. The humans knew where every ship was. They knew every defensive position. They had clearly been gathering intelligence for months. How are they coordinating this? His tactical officer shouted over the sound of alarms. No species can manage this many ships simultaneously. Thax understood what his officer could not accept. The humans had built artificial intelligence systems far beyond galactic standards. Every human ship was connected, sharing data in real time, adjusting tactics faster than any biological mind could process. They built a war machine, Thax said. Quietly, Supreme Overlord Crane appeared on the command screen. Report, my lord, we are under attack across all sectors. Estimated human forces exceed 50,000. Ships, our fleets are being destroyed faster than we can coordinate defense. 50,000. Krathen's face showed disbelief. They barely had a fleet 3 months ago. They had a fleet, my lord. They simply kept it hidden. This was planned long before. New Harmony, I believe we walked into a trap on Earth. Ambassador Sujin Lee broadcast a message across the galaxy. Every species received it simultaneously. She stood against a background showing the memorial on New Harmony where 9 million names were carved in stone. 3 months ago the Valoran Empire murdered 9 million humans, she began. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. That made it more terrifying. They broadcasted across the galaxy. They wanted everyone to see. They wanted to demonstrate their power and our weakness. She gestured to data displays showing current battle reports. This is humanity's response. We are not weak, we are not helpless. For 200 years we followed galactic law. We limited our military. We practiced restraint. The Valorans showed us that restraint is seen as weakness by predators. The displays showed Valoran fleets being systematically destroyed. We are not proud of what we must do, but we will do it. The Valorian military will be eliminated. Their government will be removed. Their species will learn what it means to cross a line that cannot be uncrossed. She looked directly at the camera. To other species watching this, understand what you are seeing. This is not aggression. This is justice. The Valorans chose to make an enemy of humanity. We are simply showing them the consequences of that choice. We will ensure that no species ever again treats human life so carelessly. The broadcast ended across the galaxy. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive newcomers reconsidered their assessment. The humans had hidden their true capabilities behind a mask of compliance. Now the mask was off. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Every ambassador looked shaken. The Theon ambassador spoke first. The humans are winning. In 3 months they have destroyed what took the Valorans 300 years to build. They are doing more than winning, the council president said quietly. They are erasing the Valorans from existence. Every battle ends with no Valoran survivors. Every captured world is purged of Valoran influence. This is not war. This is extinction, and they have the right to it, a new voice said. Ambassador Sujin Lee stood at the chamber entrance. You did not invite me, but I came. Anyway, you need to understand what is happening. She walked to the center of the chamber. You are afraid. You are afraid because you are seeing what humanity becomes when you force us to fight. For thousands of years, you species have waged limited wars. You conquer, but you do not destroy. She pulled up images of New Harmony, of the massacre of 9 million dead. The Valorans did not follow rules. They showed us that in this galaxy, following rules only protects those who break them, so we stopped following them. You are committing genocide, someone said. Yes, Sujin agreed simply. We are, and before you judge us, ask yourself this Question, what would your species do if someone murdered 9 million of your people and broadcast it for entertainment? Would you negotiate? Would you forgive? The chamber was silent. Humanity practices restraint because we understand the alternative. She continued, we know what total war looks like. We have practiced it on ourselves for thousands of years. We hoped we would never need to use that knowledge against others. The Valorans made that hope impossible. She looked around the chamber, meeting every ambassador's eyes. This is the only lesson the Valorans will receive. This is the only lesson they can receive, and every species in this galaxy is learning it. With them, humanity prefers peace, but we will never hesitate to destroy those who threaten our children. In Valorian space, the assault continued. Human forces pushed deeper into core territory. Every world that resisted was destroyed. Every fleet that fought was eliminated. The Valorans were learning a terrible truth. They had built an empire on fear, but they had never faced an enemy that refused to be afraid. Supreme Overlord Krathen stood in his fortress on the Valorian home world. Around him, his remaining loyal guards prepared for the inevitable. Human forces were 3 days away. His fleets were destroyed. His empire was gone. General Thax entered the command center. My lord, we must evacuate. We can reach deep space. Rebuild? No. Krathen said, we are Valorans. We do not run, then we die. Thax said simply. Yes, we die. Krathen pulled up the last reports from the front. Everywhere defeat, everywhere destruction. I made a mistake, Thax. I thought they were like the others. I thought killing enough of them would break their spirit. You were wrong, my lord. I was wrong. Kron looked at the view screen showing space where human ships gathered like a storm. They did not break. They transformed. We did not make them afraid. We made them angry. We did not show them our power. We showed them why they needed to use theirs. Fourth one, my one. He turned to his loyal guards. When they come, we fight. We give them no easy victory. Perhaps in our final stand, we can show them that Valorans also know how to die with honor, but honor meant nothing to the humans. Approaching, they had not come for honor, they had come for justice. Admiral Choi watched the Valoran home world growing larger on her screens. Around her, the combined might of humanity's military prepared for the final assault. She thought of new harmony. She thought of 9 million names on a memorial wall. She thought of her own sister killed in the massacre. All ships, she said quietly. Begin bombardment. Target all military installations. Spare civilian infrastructure where possible, but accept no surrender from military forces. Remember what they did. Remember why we are here. The bombardment began. The Valorian Empire was dying, and humanity was making sure it would never rise again. The sky above the Valoran home world burned, not with fire but with light from human weapons. Striking from orbit, Captain Seo Yun Kim watched through her ship's sensors as kinetic strikes destroyed military installations with surgical precision. Each strike was calculated to destroy only the target. The humans were not interested in killing civilians. They wanted the military. They wanted the government. They wanted everyone responsible for new harmony. Military command center destroyed. Her tactical officer reported. Orbital defense grid offline. Planetary shield generators eliminated. Primary spaceport destroyed. Seo Yun noted each target as it fell. 3 months of intelligence gathering had mapped every important military facility on the planet. The Valorans had nowhere to hide. Ground forces report ready for insertion. Communications said special operations teams are standing by for primary objective. Primary objective was Supreme Overlord Kra himself, the man who had ordered the massacre, the man who thought 9 million deaths would break humanity's will. Send them in, Seo ordered. Tell Captain Layman Park that Krathen must not escape. On the surface, the Valorian capital city was in chaos. Citizens ran through streets as military convoys tried to reach defensive positions, but every major intersection was blocked by destroyed vehicles. Every route was compromised by human intelligence teams that had infiltrated. Weeks ago, Captain Lee Min Park led his special operations team through the underground tunnels beneath the Supreme Overlord's fortress. They moved in silence using maps stolen from Valorian military databases. They knew this fortress better than most of the guards protecting it. 2 guards ahead, his pointman whispered, armed with plasma rifles. Layman signaled. 2 shots silenced. The guards dropped above them. In the fortress command center, Supreme Overlord Krathen watched his world collapse. General Thack stood beside him, watching the same displays. The Eastern Military District is gone, Thax reported. Western Command is not responding. The orbital platforms are all destroyed. My lord, we have perhaps 1 hour before human ground forces reach this position. Krathen said nothing. He simply stared at the screen showing human ships in orbit. So many ships. Where had they all come from? How had humanity hidden such power? You were right, he finally said. I made a mistake. I thought they were like the others we conquered. Weak, divided, easy to frighten. They were never weak, my lord. They simply chose not to show their strength until we gave them reason. 9 million reasons, Crane said bitterly. I killed 9 million of them and thought it would terrify them into submission. Instead, I showed them why they needed to destroy us. Alarms blared. Sir, intruders in the lower levels. They are inside the fortress. Krathen pulled out his sidearm around him. His elite guard formed a defensive perimeter. If he was going to die, he would die fighting. Captain Park's team moved through the fortress methodically. They cleared each level, eliminating guards who resisted, bypassing those who surrendered. They were not here for regular soldiers. They were here for the leadership. Command level ahead. Park's second in command said, heavy resistance expected. Then we go through them, Park replied simply. The assault on the command level was brief and brutal. Valoran guards fought with desperate courage. It was not enough. Human training, human weapons, human determination crushed the defense. In minutes, Park kicked open the door to the main command center. Inside, Krathen stood behind a barricade with his remaining guards. The Supreme Overlord raised his weapon. Come then, humans, he shouted. Show me this vaunted strength. Park did not waste words. His team moved with practiced efficiency. The guards fell one by one. Krathen fired wildly, hitting nothing. When his weapon clicked empty, he threw it down and charged forward. Park shot him 3 times. Center mass. The Supreme Overlord fell to the floor bleeding. Park walked over and looked down at the dying alien. This is for New Harmony, he said quietly. This is for 9 million people. You murdered, Kron coughed blood. You are monsters, no Park. Replied, we are what you made us. Kron died staring at the human soldier. Above him, his last sight was of Park, activating his communicator and saying, simply, primary objective eliminated. The Supreme Overlord is dead, in orbit. Admiral Choi received the news. She felt no satisfaction, no joy, only a grim sense of completion. One death could never balance 9 million. But it was a start, broadcasted she. Ordered, make sure every Valoran in the galaxy sees it, make sure everyone knows. The price for what they did, the footage of Krathen's death spread across the galaxy within hours. The Supreme Overlord, who had ruled with absolute power for 50 years, killed by human soldiers in his own fortress. The Valorian Empire was truly finished, but the war was not over. The Valoran military still had forces scattered across their former territory. Nearly 300 ships had gathered in deep space, carrying survivors of the government and military they planned to flee to, rebuild, to perhaps return one day. Admiral Choi was not going to let that happen. Fleet status, she asked. All battle groups ready. The Valoran remnant fleet is at the coordinates predicted. They are preparing to jump to deep space. How long until they reach jump distance? 12 hours. Then we have 12 hours to end this. Choi pulled up the tactical display. 300 Valoran ships, carrying perhaps 200,000 people. The last organized military force the Valorans had. All ships prepare for final engagement. No escape pods will be recovered. No surrender will be accepted. When we finish today, the Valoran military will cease to exist. Her officers looked at her. Some faces showed discomfort. What they were about to do was not war. It was extermination. I know what you are thinking, Choi said quietly. You are wondering if we have become the monsters we are fighting. You are wondering if this is justice or revenge. She pulled up images of New Harmony on the main screen. 9 million faces, 9 million names, 9 million lives ended for no reason but cruelty. These people cannot be allowed to escape, she continued. If even one Valoran warship survives, if even one carrier of their military tradition lives, they will rebuild. They will return, and one day they will kill humans again. We cannot allow that. We will not allow that. She looked at each officer in turn. What we do today is not revenge, it is prevention. We are making sure that the Valoran threat ends permanently. History will judge us, but history will also show that we did what was necessary to protect humanity's future. The human fleet jumped. They emerged in the deep space sector. The Valoran remnant had gathered. The 300 Valoran ships saw them coming in, tried to scatter. It was too late. The battle lasted 8 hours. It was not really a battle, it was an execution. Human ships hunted down every Valoran vessel. When ships tried to surrender, humanity ignored the signals. When escape pods launched, human ships destroyed them. By the end, 300 ships were wreckage. 200,000 Valorans were dead. Not one survived. Admiral Choi watched the last ship die. She felt hollow inside. They had won. The Valoran Empire was extinct as a military power, but the cost of victory was high, not in human lives. They had lost remarkably few. The cost was in what humanity had become. Ma'am, her communications officer said quietly, we are receiving thousands of transmissions from across the galaxy. Every species is watching. They saw what we did, so let them watch, Choi said. Let them see what happens when you force humanity to fight. Let them understand the price. She broadcast one final message across the galaxy. The Valorian Empire is ended. Their military is destroyed. Their government is eliminated. We did not want this war. They brought it to us when they murdered 9 million civilians and broadcast it for the galaxy to see. Now the galaxy has seen our response. 1-1 on 9 million symphony. On 9 million, she paused, choosing her next words carefully. To every species watching this, humanity seeks peace. We prefer cooperation, but we will never again allow others to think our restraint is weakness. The Valorans learned this lesson too late. Do not make their mistake. On the Galactic Council Station, ambassadors watched the human broadcast in silence. The Thelian ambassador spoke first. They did it. They actually eliminated an entire empire, not the people. Someone corrected. The military and government, the Valoran civilians on conquered worlds still live, but they will never threaten anyone again, another ambassador said. The humans made sure of that. Ambassador Sujin Lee entered the chamber. She looked tired, like she had not slept in days. The war is over, she said simply. The Valorian military no longer exists. You committed genocide. Someone accused. We committed justice. Sujin corrected. Every Valorian soldier who died today was part of a military that murdered 9 million civilians. Every officer who died commanded forces that committed atrocities. We did not kill innocents, we killed the guilty. The chamber erupted in argument. Some species agreed with humanity's actions. Others condemned them, but every species understood the same thing. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had proven they were not helpless newcomers. They were a power that could destroy empires, and they had the will to do it. 6 months after the last Valoran warship died, Captain Seo Yun Kim stood on New Harmony. The planet had been rebuilt. New cities rose where old ones had burned. Farms stretched across valleys that had been scorched by orbital bombardment. Life returned to the world where 9 million had died, but the dead were not forgotten. In the center of the main city, a memorial stood, a massive wall of black stone carved with 9 million names. Reading every name aloud took 73 hours. Seo Yun had listened to the complete reading once, sitting in silence for 3 days, hearing each name spoken. She found the section with her sister's family, Jae-yun Kim, her husband TJO, their 3 children. Minsu, age 12, Hana, age 9, little J.A. 4. Seo Yun placed flowers at the base of the wall. We got them, Ji-yun, she whispered. Every single one, the supreme overlord, his generals, every ship, every soldier. They paid for what they did to you. I hope you are at peace. She stood there for a long time, thinking about the price of victory. The Valorans were gone as a military power. Their empire was scattered. Their people lived on conquered worlds under new governments. They would never threaten anyone again. But what had humanity become in the process of destroying them on Earth? The debate raged. The World Assembly met daily to discuss the war and its aftermath. Some praised the military for protecting humanity. Others condemned the extinction of the Valorian military as genocide. The arguments were fierce and emotional. Admiral Min Jun Choi stood before the assembly to testify. She wore her uniform with all the medals she had earned. She looked tired but unbroken. You ask if we went too far, she said when the questioning began. You ask if exterminating the Valoran military was justified. Let me answer. Clearly, yes, it was justified, and I will not apologize for what we did. Chamber erupted in shouting. The chairperson called for order. The Valorans murdered 9 million civilians and broadcasted across the galaxy. They did not target military installations. They did not fight soldiers. They executed children and elderly people and farmers. They wanted to terrify us into surrender. She pulled up images on the main screen. New Harmony burning bodies in streets, children running from falling buildings. This is what they did. This is what we avenged. We did not start this war. We did not choose to fight, but once forced to fight, we fought to win completely. Representative stood. But did we need to eliminate every Valoran military vessel? Could we not have accepted surrender? And what would happen then? Choi asked. We let them survive, let them rebuild. And in 50 years they attack another species. In 100 years they returned to attack us. No, the only way to ensure permanent safety was permanent elimination of their military capability. You sound like a monster, someone said. Choi's eyes flashed. Then, I am a monster who kept humanity safe. I am a monster who made sure no Valoran will ever again kill human children, and if that makes me a monster in your eyes, I will bear that judgment, but our children will live. That is what matters. The questioning continued for hours. In the end, the assembly voted to support the military's actions by a narrow margin. The war was judged necessary, and the elimination of the Valorian military was deemed justified, given their actions on New Harmony. But the vote did not end the debate. It would continue for generations. Humanity had crossed a line, and returning from it would be difficult. On the Galactic Council Station, Ambassador Sujin Lee worked to build a new peace. She had spent 6 months negotiating what became known as the New Harmony Accords. Every major species in the galaxy was represented at the signing. These accords established clear rules for warfare. Sujin explained to the assembled ambassadors. The targeting of civilians is banned completely. Any species that commits mass civilian casualties will face collective action from all signatory species, including action like humanity took against the Valorans. Someone asked nervously. Exactly like that, Sujin confirmed. The Valorans showed us that words and condemnations mean nothing to predators. Only force matters. These accords ensure that force will be used collectively to stop atrocities. The Thelian ambassador looked concerned. You are essentially giving humanity a veto over warfare in the galaxy. If any species violates these terms, humanity could unilaterally respond with extinction level force. Yes, Sujin agreed. That is exactly what we are doing. The galaxy now understands what humanity is capable of when forced to fight. We prefer not to fight, but these accords ensure everyone understands the consequences if they target civilians. Every species signed. They had no real choice. Humanity had proven they had the capability and will to destroy any military that threatened them. Better to accept rules that prevented such conflicts than to risk becoming the next Valorans. 10 years after the war ended, New Harmony thrived. A new generation grew up on the rebuilt planet. They learned about the massacre in schools. They visited the memorial wall. They understood what had happened and why. G1 Park, the ambassador who had walked out of the Galactic Council during the massacre, had retired. She now lived on New Harmony, teaching history at the university. She wanted students to understand both the horror of what was done and the necessity of humanity's response. One day a student asked her, "Do you think we were right to eliminate the Valorian military?" Guy considered the question carefully. Right and wrong are complex in war. The Valorians committed an unforgivable crime. Our response was proportional to their action, but it was still terrible. In its totality, we became executioners. We ended an empire. That is not something to celebrate. Arjun Daspling. Our first, but you support what we did. The student pressed, "I support our survival." Guy said, "I support making sure no one ever again thinks they can kill millions of humans without consequences." The Valorians thought we were weak. They learned otherwise. The galaxy learned otherwise. And for 10 years we have had peace because everyone understands what happens to those who target human civilians. She looked out the window at the city, rebuilt and beautiful. 9 million people died here. We cannot bring them back, but we can honor their memory by ensuring their deaths meant something. The New Harmony Accords have prevented 3 potential wars already. Species that might have committed atrocities stopped because they remembered the Valorians. Another student raised her hand. "Teacher Park, do you think humanity has changed? Are we different now?" "Yes," Guy said honestly. "We are different. We learned that restraint only works if everyone practices it. We learned that following rules only protects those who break them. We learned that sometimes to protect the innocent, you must be willing to do terrible things to the guilty." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "We are no longer innocent ourselves. We carry the weight of what we did to the Valorians, but we are alive. Our children are safe, and the galaxy is more peaceful because of the hard lesson we taught." On that same day, a Valorian civilian visited the memorial on New Harmony. Her name was Sylvia, and she had been a teacher on a Valorian occupied world. She had opposed the Empire's brutality but had been powerless to stop it. She found Jiwon after class. "Ambassador Park, I am sorry to disturb you, but I wanted to speak with someone who lived through the war." Guy studied the Valorian woman. She felt no anger, only sadness. "What do you want to say?" "I want to apologize," Sylvia said quietly. "My people committed an unforgivable crime here. I taught Valorian children to believe in the Empire's superiority. I was part of the system that created monsters like Krathen. You were not on the ships that bombed this planet." Guy said, "No, but I supported the Empire. That did it. I believed we had the right to conquer others." Sylvia looked at the memorial wall stretching into the distance. 9 million names. I have read them all. It took me months. I needed to understand the scale of what my people did. "Why?" Jiwon asked. "Why torture yourself with this?" "Because someone must remember from our side too," Sylvia replied. "The Valorian military is gone. Our government is scattered, but our civilians remain on many worlds. We are teaching our children about what happened. We are making sure they understand that supremacy leads only to destruction." Guy studied the Valoran woman for a long moment. Then she made a decision. They walked through the memorial garden. Together, Guy pointed to different sections. Here are the children who died, ages 1 month to 17 years, 3 million of them. She moved to another section. Here are the elderly, those over 70 years old. They survived wars and struggles to retire here in peace. 500,000 of them are. Sylvia wept as they walked. When they finished the complete circuit of the memorial, she said, "How can you bear to speak to me? My people did this. Your people paid for it." Jiwan said simply, "Every Valorian soldier who committed atrocities is dead. Your military is gone. Your government is eliminated. The debt is paid in full." She looked at the Valoran teacher, "But the memory must remain. Both species must remember what happens when cruelty meets determination." Years passed. New harmony became a symbol. Throughout the galaxy, the memorial drew visitors from hundreds of species. They came to understand what the Valorans had done and what humanity had done in response. The galaxy had changed. Aggressive species reconsidered their policies. Wars became less common. New harmony accords prevented several conflicts before they began. Species that might have fought instead negotiated, remembering the lesson of the Valorans. Humanity had earned reputation. They were not conquerors. They did not seek empire, but everyone understood. If you threatened human civilians, humanity would respond with absolute determination. They would not stop, would not negotiate, would not show mercy until the threat was eliminated completely. Some called it peace through fear. Others called it justice through strength. Whatever the name, it worked. On the 50th anniversary of the massacre, an aged Admiral Choi gave a speech at the New Harmony Memorial. She was 90 years old now, her hair white but her eyes still sharp. 50 years ago, the Valorans killed 9 million people here. She said to the assembled crowd, "They thought it would break us. Instead, it revealed what humanity becomes when you take everything from us." She looked at the memorial wall. "We are not proud of exterminating the Valorian military. We are not proud of becoming executioners. But we are alive. Our children are safe. And for 50 years, the galaxy has been more peaceful because everyone remembers what happened here." The Valorans wanted to demonstrate their power. They succeeded, but they also demonstrated something else, that there are lines you cannot cross without consequences. They chose to cross that line. We made sure they paid the price. She finished her speech with words that would be remembered for generations. We did not want to be warriors. We wanted to be explorers, builders, and friends to all species. The Valorans made that impossible, so we became what we needed to be to survive. We became the species that ends threats permanently, and the galaxy is safer for it. As the sun set over New Harmony, children played in parks built on ground that once ran with blood. Human and alien families lived side by side, raising children who knew peace. The memorial stood as a reminder of both the horror that drove humanity to war and the determination that ended it. The Valoran Empire was gone, but the memory remained, and in that memory the galaxy found wisdom. Do not mistake humanity's preference for peace as weakness. Do not think their restraint means they cannot fight, and never ever threaten their children, because if you do, humanity will show you what they are truly capable of, and by the time you Understand your mistake, it will be 2.